Everyone, my name is Shayantu Shengupto, and welcome back to another episode of a very special alumni interaction series organized by our college, where we interact with a lot of seniors, where we interact with a lot of alumni members, and we try to pick their brains on a myriad of topics. In this episode, we've got a very special guest. We've got Nayonika Mukherjee from the batch of 2019, who was in our college from 2016 to 2019. It's an absolute privilege to have her amongst us today. Nayonika began her career as a sub editor of Outlook Traveler, traveling, and that is where she actually handled everything, right from editing to writing to layouts to video production. Post that, she got an opportunity to work at Ixigo, which is also her present job, and she's working as a content analyst where she's focused on breaking news, mobile marketing, and editorial SEO. She's also an avid photographer, and she's dabbled in photography for 10 whole years, and she enjoys being a multimedia creative professional. So thank you so much, Nayanika, for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming here. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to have you today.
Thank you so much, Shayanto, for having me. Great to be here.
An absolute pleasure. So, before beginning, a quick note to everyone who's attending the meeting. If you all have any questions in mind for Nayanika, then please feel free to shoot it down in the Q&A section below, and Nayanika will address them towards the end of the meeting. So, without further ado, let's quickly hop on to all the questions we have. So, Nayanika, the first question we have for you, I'm pretty sure it's going to be very close to your heart. It's going to be a very special question because I want to ask you about your journey in SCMC. How was your journey in our prestigious institution? If you could take us through it.
I would say that it was a journey filled with a lot of creative stimulation and critical thinking. I thought I was always a well-read teenager before I came to SCMC because I used to read the paper, I used to follow news a bit, but I didn't realize how much of a bubble I lived in until I came to Pune and interacted with people from different backgrounds. And I think from my journey from a student to an intern to a graduate, it was a pretty organic one because the college gave you a lot of industry knowledge. It wasn't just rote learning. For example, I had no idea that when you're coming for a mass comm degree, it has things other than journalism. Journalism is what I came for. And in a lot of Indian colleges, there is still that mentality that a mass comm degree just means you learn about news. You don't cover AV or PR or ad. So I was very grateful that we got that foundational knowledge of the different courses. And from there on, I would say something very useful during my experience was picking up all the hands-on practical skills, the software classes, because that has been extremely useful to me as a graduate now. A lot of the academic things we learned, I would say, have not been of use yet. But those are also things that you can research and learn just by yourself. But definitely the way SCMC pushes you to find your own creative projects, for you to find good internships, because the college can only provide a foot in the door. It can't really hand you something. So the way it's pushed you to be the best version of you, I think that's been very beneficial to me as a
And
working professional now.
I hope no college teacher is listening to this, that there's been very few educational experience, but then that's good to hear that more than actual educational experience, you're getting a lot of practical knowledge, which I think essentially should be the benchmark for any college to grow. And thank you for beautifully formulating that. Next up, we have a question for you. I mean, there's always a cloud of uncertainty in Arnica whenever a first year student wants to go to second year and they want to choose a specialization. When a second year student wants to go to third year, choose a specialization. So, how was it for you? I mean, did you decide from beforehand that, okay, I'm going to take up journalism, or through assignments, through internships, through the various rigors of college, you actually, decided that you're going to pursue journalism?
I always knew that I wanted to pursue individualistic work. Like when you're in a company, you know you have to partake in teamwork a little bit, but I always knew I wanted to work where I would be responsible for whatever I create. And journalism sort of fit naturally like that for me because as a writer, you're responsible for the topics you cover, the stories you create, and the sources you maintain. So that definitely played in. And also, I think I was pushed more towards it in class 11 when I was part of the Times of India student edition in Kolkata.
Wow.
They had a program called Star Correspondent where they held a citywide competition. where 7 of us got selected to be reporters for a year. So that really gave the practical experience to work for the paper. And one of my other batchmates, Bhavna Kankaria, was also part of this. So
Oh,
when
wow.
I became friends with her in Kolkata, and then I saw her in SCMC as well, I was like, yeah, some pretty cool people are gonna come here.
Oh, wow. So you already had a kind of benchmark, you already had a platform, and you just capitalized on that. I hope a lot of us can do that. And like, yeah. So next up, we have a question where we want to ask you, ki, how did your college hands-on experiences, like your internships and various other assignments and all, help you get a footwork? I mean, right now you're working as a content analyst. Before that, you worked as a sub-editor. So how did it all help in actually things getting panned out for you in the industry?
I would say the foundational courses, things like sociology, psychology, I had a bit of knowledge of them already because I was a humanities student in ISC. But for people who don't have the background knowledge, the first year is very crucial. I would say to
Hmm,
not take it for granted
hmm,
and to make sure you imbibe all the resources that your professors give you. Because if you're someone like me who's a communication professional or a writer, you will need to draw from a very wide knowledge bank when you're writing articles. You can't put boring introductions, you can't plagiarize, you can't copy how other people are writing. You need to have your own personality and voice, and you need to have a wide range of material to draw from at that time. So the courses definitely helped in that way. The software skills, things like InDesign, Adobe Premiere Pro, Photoshop, Illustrator is something I wish I learned, but only the ad kids
hmm.
got it. Excel, even something like Excel, like the commands you learn there, is very important in analytics these days as a content marketer. So all of these things have been very beneficial during internships as well as jobs, because if a recruiter sees that you already have these skills and you know how to use them, you automatically jump the line when it comes to resumes. So they know they don't have to waste time teaching you things, and you might get a call back quicker than some other people. And because of these skills, I think you also get to build a stronger early portfolio during your internships, because
Mhm.
you'll automatically be given a lot more work when you go to the internships and they see you know how to do things, compared to them having to spend 10 days on the internship teaching you how to design a page.
We'll jump back to that portfolio part in a bit, but then I wanted to ask you something. I mean, you talked about the various softwares like InDesign, Adobe. You think for a journalist, for somebody who wants to get into writing, somebody wants to get into anchoring, even learning these basic applications, Adobe Premiere Pro, which might or might not help them in the longer run, is actually beneficial?
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, if you join, say, even as say a tech reporter or a policy reporter somewhere, you still need to have a lot of multimedia skills. A lot of media organizations are understaffed or under-resourced, and if somebody leaves or they have a new project in mind, you should ideally be able to take it on a bit, not to the extent that it becomes exploitative for you, but you should be able to showcase that you have these skills to expand what you can do there and contribute more to the company.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that. Nayanika, you've worked for Ixigo, you've worked for Outlook Traveler, and all of these are big media houses. So I wanted to ask you, did you find your niche, or are you still the bunny from Ye Jawani Hai Diwani?
Um, just gonna ignore that dialogue. Uh, I would say I am still exploring my niche.
Okay, then you can't technically ignore that.
Well, Bunny wasn't a writer, right? He was more of a filmmaker.
Yeah, yeah,
So, in terms of niche, I would say that being a writer doesn't just mean you only write features or you only work in a newspaper or, say, a digital news outlet. You can take those communication skills and work at think tanks. You can work at corporates running their communications. You could even become a comms manager at a school in the hills. Like, I saw
yeah.
this
Mhm.
great job opening in the Nilgiris where there was a boarding school. I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I would love to work there. Great atmosphere, surrounded by mountains. Why not? So there is a lot of potential if you become a writer, but you need to supplement those skills that I mentioned earlier with other kinds of things. Like you need to build soft skills. If you can learn a bit of coding as well, that's great. There is a lot of potential in programming right now, even if you're not from that background. And personally, I think I will be moving more towards sustainable development and a bit more on the analytics side, because I currently don't have a very favorable impression of the media landscape of our country. Like, even though there's a lot of passionate, hardworking journalists, I think issues like misinformation, targeted misinformation, and censorship are a very big problem right now. And I think a lot of young journalists who get into the field, they get disillusioned pretty quick within
Yeah.
the first 2 or 3 years, or they get
Mhm.
burnt out because we still have this old world idea of the grand nobility of journalism, and a lot of that has
Is it
eroded
also
in.
because of the payroll to some extent that people get disarrayed from their
Yeah,
path?
definitely. I mean, fresher journalists, I think if we can talk about salaries, I would say the starting salaries are very low compared to the kind of work they're expected to do. And also, as a journalist, the mass impact you're having is very big because you're reaching such a wide audience. So you
Right.
have to fact check everything, you have to do things on deadline, and the pay you get for that is so little that you lose motivation sometimes.
Mhm.
So
True.
yeah, and you always, if you have friends in other careers, you might end up comparing that
Mhm.
उनका
Okay.
CTC बहुत high है, मेरा क्या है,
Mhm.
like that. So
Right.
I would say like if you are in writing or in journalism, to look for more creative avenues, don't just go for the most obvious names in media, because
Mhm.
if you join other companies or corporates or maybe CSR wings, or you can even go into copywriting from a journalism degree, you might have more potential for a longer, more sustainable career.
Right. Okay. So to sum it up, I feel that you still are not exactly looking for a niche, but then you're exploring everything because you feel nothing is fixed in this particular media industry, if I'm not wrong. So
That's true. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, moving on to the next question. I mean, in a way, I feel that your batch has been a little lucky because you guys have not been affected by this grueling pandemic that has enveloped us.
Mhm.
So I wanted to ask you, I think little bit time you've got to work post your graduation, you worked in normal in-house offices. Plus right now you're working from home for the past couple of years. So how has this transition been like? Because I don't think so. We have faced that because we were in college when this started. We're still in college right now. So how has it been for somebody like you who wasn't completely in college? So how was this transition like for you?
Um, the transition, I would say, has gone pretty smooth so far because I've always been a bit of a homebody. So working from home, when the announcement came, I was like, no problem, I'm in.
Okay.
Yeah, the first year I already got the newsroom experience at Outlook Traveler, where we'd go to work, then we travel
Hmm.
a lot. There was so like we'd have a trip every say 1.5 months to go
Oh,
somewhere.
wow.
So it was very interesting, and I feel like with the pandemic coming in later, we fit in so much travel before it, at least in my job, that I didn't really feel bad about it later. I know
Right.
that's a very privileged thing to say, but
Mhm.
yeah, that is the case. And after that, in after Out of Traveler, I took a break for 4 months because I was very burnt out and I needed it. I think that is something everybody should recognize, that you do need to take a step back and take a breather sometimes. It's not just going to affect your personal life, but also your work. So you should come back in good health. After that, I joined Ixico directly and in remote work from November. And since then, I've only worked remote for, I guess it's been 8 months now. I've only been to the office once. I have been grateful for it because I live in South Delhi and the office is in Gurgaon, and I can't
Okay.
imagine making that 45-minute to 1 hour journey every day for work.
Mhm. Alright. Okay. So, I mean, how was the first week of work from home like? I mean, suddenly this such a huge transition from actually going to the office, then actually not going, and then thinking that okay, maybe after a couple of weeks, after 2 weeks, gonna get back to our normal lives, but then no, nothing like that happening because this happened on an unprecedented scale. So how was the first week like? And right now also, I mean, almost 1.5 years have passed since this pandemic has started. What do you think are the changes within those first 2 weeks and right now?
In the first week, I was honestly a mess because Outlook Traveler had a more of a relaxed atmosphere, whereas Ixigo everything was to the T at deadlines, and I had no experience of coming into like 4 meetings a day. And I was late for I think my first 4 or 5 meetings, and after that, I was like, no, I need to pull up my socks. This leaves a horrible impression in your first week. So then, yeah, I began to set alarms for everything. I focused more on time management. There's so many time management techniques online that you can read up on, which will help you prioritize your work and make sure you're there for everything. And after a while, I would say the first week in terms of work was relatively leisurely, because if you compare the pace of a newsroom to the pace of a corporate, in a newsroom you're competing with a lot of other publications, and there is always an undercurrent of pressure and tension there, that you might have missed out on something, or somebody beat you to the scoop. or I don't know, readers are sending hate comments and you need to change something very quickly. But in a corporate, apart from a few things, the pace of content is not that fast. Also because there's more people allocated for these kind of tasks. It's not like three people running a whole department. So in that way, after coming to Ixigo, I found the pace a bit leisurely, and over time we got more responsibilities handed. Uh, in the last few months, I would say, since we are a travel focused company, I've been in travel only in the last 2 years. The work has changed to become more analytical and data driven, because you can no longer tell people ki, hey, I'm a travel company, I'm telling you go here. You can't do that anymore, because there's so many guidelines to follow. There's so many testing, quarantine, RT-PCR requirements, and you have to navigate around all of that and provide options to people. And a lot of travel is not just recreational travel, it's business or urgent travel. And you need to accommodate all of those different things, see how booking trends are, and then give recommendations. And the only way to do that is using analytics. So in the last few months, I've learned to parse through that and better my work. And I think it's given me more technical know-how compared to just being an editorial.
This must have been hard for you, because I know I've heard that you love traveling, and then working on analytics must have been a little hard on you. Must have been a little hard on that Andar Ka Kira, which is actually wanting to go and travel to different places.
I don't think I hated it. I always liked learning new things. I've
Like,
always been interested in science, even though I am a humanities student. And I think getting a chance to get back to it without the pressure of teachers or exams, and learning it from experienced people, was very interesting. And I would recommend to writers that if you want, you can definitely learn analytics by yourself or at a
right,
company. I think you should keep your options open.
okay, right. So, I mean, there's a saying that this work from home culture, this is going to stay for a pretty long time, even after things de-escalate for a timing, even after we take vaccines and everything.
Yeah, I think your
Do you,
video has paused. Okay, it's
one
back
second.
on now.
Yeah. So, what do you think? What are your views on this? Do you think this is going to stay, or do you think we're going to get back to normal office culture again?
I think it's gonna stay in a hybrid model. I think a lot of people would probably tell you the same thing, because offices are saving on overhead costs. People don't have to waste time on commute. And there is a lot of evidence that, though there is a lot of evidence, there's some people are getting burnt out by it, but there's also a lot of evidence that it's been boosting productivity around the world. So with regards to that, I think it's definitely going to stay as a hybrid. And if I take my company, we were sent a survey that would you like to resume work at office? Would you like to stay home or a hybrid? And I think most people picked hybrid. And most companies who can afford to do that will, because at the end of the day, what matters is fulfilling all your responsibilities. If the company is functioning as normal, there is no need to call people over. And it also gives people from faraway cities who can't necessarily shift to these places a shot at getting a job at companies. So I think that will bring in more diversity, which is important. And that is why a lot of companies will stick to this. I would recommend reading this article called Work from Anywhere Future. It's on Harvard Business Review, and it has a lot of data on why work from anywhere is a good model. And I think, since you mentioned the travel thing earlier, if people want to work from anywhere and not just from home, there's a lot of remote work visas and digital nomad visas that let Indians go around the world and work from anywhere. So those options have been growing as well. So I think it's a very viable model.
I wanted to ask you a follow-up question to this answer itself. Okay, so I mean, I know that creativity is going to get a little affected, even if it's a hybrid, like you said. I feel to some extent it might. So, in your case, because you started loving also the work inside a house, did you actually feel that okay, creativity was being affected, or do you feel that okay, along with the same parameters, you were able to work like what you were working before?
I think for creativity, the location didn't matter for me. It was more of the setup and stimulants around me that matters. I like to work completely alone. Like when I was at Outlook, I would sometimes just take my laptop, go to a different part of the building, write, and then come back, because I don't know, log zyada shor macha rahe hote, or they'd
Right.
be talking. Yeah, it was a very jovial atmosphere there.
Mhm.
So I prefer silence when I'm trying. I need to hear myself think. I need to sometimes take a break, run around in the balcony a bit, I don't know, eat something, and then come back and do it. And I think from home that works fine for me. Also, I don't like when people are passing by and they snoop in and see what you're doing on the laptop. So
That you cannot not expect this in a city like Calcutta. Essentially, you can't. There'll be some people always, wanting to poke their nose into and everything.
that's the case, I think, everywhere. But yeah, with home, you can just lock your door and take your time with things. And also, uh, I guess I shouldn't be saying this, but like if you have a deliverable at say 5 p.m. and you're facing a writer's block and you think you can't do it at 5, but you can do it at 5:15, you could have an internet problem and
Yeah,
do it a bit later.
totally.
So yeah, in that way, I think work from home for me personally has been fine for creativity. It hasn't been affected. The only thing is that in newsrooms, it's good to bounce ideas off of colleagues sometimes. They might help give you a different perspective to look at things. So I do miss that.
Okay, so next up, I wanted to ask you one thing. I mean, when you're working from home, like, okay, it is not 24 into 7 work also, but then how do you manage your life and your work when you're actually working from home? I mean, there'll be some people always asking you to go and, take something, do something else, but then how do you manage that work and life balance when you're constantly in the comforts of your home?
I think it boils down to something you have to internalize, which is work is just a part of your life. It's not your whole life.
Right.
You should have separate timings for pursuing your own interests, to spend time with your friends, family, your partner, your flatmates, anyone.
Mhm.
And you should learn to respect those parts of your life as well. I personally, I don't think we're meant to be productivity machines. I'm not a fan of hustle culture. And I think you should have set times ki, if I'm starting work at 10, I will start at 10. If I'm ending at 6, I will end at 6. And after that, I do whatever I want. And I think that's a once you start to do that and have fixed times for say eating lunch or even in the morning. I don't think you should get up at 10:50 and start work at 11 immediately. I think you should have at least 1 hour where you can have a leisurely breakfast, you can read newsletters, you can listen to some music, run around, maybe exercise, and then get into work. Yeah, I think to find that balance, what works for you, that is something you have to figure out. But once you establish that routine, it's a bit hard at times if you're lazy. I am very lazy. It took me a time to quite some time to figure it out. But I think we should stick to those boundaries we set for ourselves.
Right, these are absolute golden advices given by you. I hope everyone who's actually listening will benefit from this. Moving on to the next question, I want to ask you that a lot of us are actually starting our internships right now. We're
Hmm.
also getting into the industry, getting a little insight of how things work in the industry. So, what tips will you give? I mean, if you could boil it down to a couple of tips, I mean, what tips would you give to actually adapt to this work from home culture?
I would say to have a very specific point in the house where you will work. Do not work from your bed. Have a proper office table just a setup as much as possible with a
Hmm.
table, a chair. I didn't have one before joining Exigo. I bought it separately. It's a bit of an investment at times, but it's actually going to boost your productivity a lot. Um, Most companies will have a separate comms channel for daily discussions. Like you won't be talking on WhatsApp. You'll probably be
Hmm.
talking on Slack or Asana. So
Hmm.
you have to keep that on at all times. Make sure you have good a power backup. And if you only use Wi-Fi, make sure you have mobile internet as a backup because work can't get stalled if you keep having internet blackouts bar in
Hmm.
between. If you do not have the finances to create this kind of setup, then when you are applying for the job, it's very important to make it clear to the recruiter in your contract that you want a separate allowance for work from home. A lot of companies do offer that if you spell it out. You have to be very vocal for your needs when you're negotiating a contract. You can't just take the first offer that's given to you. And so within that, I would suggest to make it clear that these are your requirements and for them to increase the allowance for that a bit. Yeah.
So, I mean, I wanted to ask you, how do you exactly differentiate between what job is right for you and what not? Because you said that shouldn't always jump into the first job or something. So, how do you actually differentiate like which is good for you and which is not?
Okay, that's a loaded question, I
Mhm.
guess.
Okay.
I think you have to set out some priorities for yourself and a minimum threshold. Key, I want a company with this employee size. I want minimum this package. I
Okay.
want the quality of people or the team size to be like this. And every place that fits those requirements, I would encourage people to apply. Because what tends to happen is you apply to 30, 40 places and maybe 4 or 5 will reply.
Hmm.
That was the case before the pandemic. It is the same as now. It's not that
Hmm.
hiring has stopped during the pandemic. I know in media there are constantly openings everywhere, but you need to set things for yourself which are non-negotiable. That if you're applying to a company, you won't bend down if an HR person is pushing you into a corner. You should not back down, because what they want is for you to take the first lowball offer, because it's gonna be a lower cost to company for them.
Right.
And I think people should definitely learn more about salary structures when they're applying for jobs. Like, what are the different kinds of components that go into salary? Like, there's something called LTA, there's something called HRA, and you can Google it all. They become part of tax exemptions later. And that's very helpful if you're a fresher and you need more in hand money in your first job, if you can get tax exemptions. So, focusing on your contract is definitely one thing, and applying to a diversity of places is another thing. That don't always think कि मुझे सिर्फ tech news लिखना है, तो I will only apply to tech places. You can also apply to corporates. You can apply to cryptocurrency firms. It depends on your knowledge base of all the kinds of places you can apply to. And I think you should definitely check online reviews of the company. Don't just go by how famous a brand is or how good it looks on a resume. Check Glassdoor, check forums online, like you can check it on Reddit or Quora, because often the perception you have of a company will be very different from how employees who have already worked there say the company is like.
Hmm.
And things like how a management treats you, how your leave structure is there employee welfare, these things will matter a lot in your job.
I think there's no sugar coating if you go to a online website or something like Reddit. And
Yeah,
in terms of expectations, I mean, what does an employer expect from you? What should be the etiquettes during, work from home, or maybe if somebody is a fresher and wants to get into the industry, what can they expect from the employees? Or what might the employer actually expect from a fresher or someone?
during work from home, I think there's some basic etiquettes, things like don't come dressed as a slob to work, because video calls may, you need to be respectful of the atmosphere at a meeting. And I think if you dress better, you'll also feel better and participate more. Nobody should see you in your pajamas at work.
Yeah.
Then when a video call is going on, I mean, it's very common to have a meeting every 1 or 2 days, and everybody hates it, but it's inevitable. During a meeting, don't cut off other people. There's a lot of people who might disagree. You might disagree with, or you might be excited about something and want to jump in, but you should let other people finish their thoughts. Even if you sometimes you think they're repeating things or being redundant, let them finish talking, because it will also help maintain a good relationship with them. If you are signaled in as a person who keeps cutting off other people, uh, you will be seen as somebody difficult to work with. Along with that, I would say stick to the official communication channels that you're supposed to work with. Like, if you're meant to work on Slack like we do, don't take it to WhatsApp, because it can get annoying. And I would also say that since you're working from home, you might think, I'll just log in, finish my work, log out, and be done with it. But if you plan to stay at a company long time, you need to focus on bonding and building relationships with your colleagues, at least with your immediate team, if not members from other departments. And if you don't see opportunities like games or trivias or icebreakers for that anyway, you should definitely suggest it to your manager or HR ki, hey, we can try these things. Because better bonding will mean that you work like a well-oiled machine in your team, and also other people will have your back if you ever need it.
Right. So networking is very important according to you. I mean, anywhere, be it work from home, being actually working over there,
Yeah.
networking is very critical. I think we should all learn from this. I think you said. I mean, Nayanika, any tips you would like to give to your juniors on how to make the most out of their SCMC journey? We'll be having the new batch coming. That's first year, the second year. So, any tips on how they can actually make the most out of the journey?
There's a lot, I would say. I mean, it's a bit difficult to boil it all down. I would say know the areas that you want to grow in. There are some areas you might be naturally good at or you might have an interest in, but the ones you don't know, those are the ones that might actually become useful at your next job, or they might ask you to focus on those things in your next job. So if you have gaps in skills, don't run away from them, face them head on and build them. I would say also that during SCMC, you're gonna build a lot of contacts by doing professional projects or during internships. Do not forget about those contacts. Get into touch with people now and then. Drop them like a WhatsApp message, or if you follow them on Instagram or Twitter, just say hi, how you're doing, interact, things like that. Because
Even when there's no work related, I mean, you're just saying trying to build a personal connection with them.
yes, because you never know when you might need them as a contact. And also, it's good to have friends from different kinds of fields. And this is not something like only freshers do. This is something even people in top management do. Like, for example, I remember I went to this hotel review trip in Thiog, which is a town near Shimla. Taj had opened a resort there. And Wahaka, I think the sales manager of Taj, he was the one taking us around. And I was just someone who had 1 year of work experience, whereas this guy had been in an industry for so long in tourism and hospitality. But to this day, this man still takes time to send, say, a happy Diwali or a happy New Year to every single person he met, including me. He doesn't have to do it, but it's just something that becomes part of you the more you do it, and it leaves a very good impression on people around you that you are thinking of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So, one final question I would like to ask you. I mean, what kind of experience do you feel the SCMC aspirants, the ones who actually want to come into our college, they should expect in our college? What kind of expectation they must have when they come into our college?
I think they should expect the course to be rigorous. And if they were the best person in their school, there's very good chances that when they come into the SCMC batch, they're going to be surrounded by a lot of other people who are the best person in their school. So it's going to be a lot of competition. You will have to think harder, work harder. You have to do more critical thinking. You can't just be book smart here. You'll have to learn to collaborate with a lot of people who you might not even like, but it's a skill that you will need in the workplace as well. As I said earlier, you need to network and build contacts during your time at SCMC. You can do that at internships. You can do that in Pune itself because it's a very beautiful and student friendly city. And you might get a lot of freelance opportunities while at SCMC.
Right.
Because it's a very famous media college and people usually know कि symbiosis के बच्चे इधर उधर घूमते रहते हैं doing different things in Pune, so they are helpful for it. And aspirants, I think one thing they'll really enjoy after graduating, which is a while, but after graduating, the alumni network is really helpful because even though it's an unofficial network where any media publication or agency you go to, you will find someone from SCMC, even though it's a very young college. And that is very helpful for you to settle in or for you to contact anybody or if to get a referral. Referrals are a very big thing right now for gaining jobs. And if somebody knows you from SCMC, they'll know ki if this person got into SCMC, they are probably worth something. They are probably worth giving a shot to. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of positives for people who do come into SCMC.
Absolutely. This must be a good head start for a lot of people who are applying to our college. Please listen to this again and again, and then you'll understand. Thank you, Nayanika, for that insightful conversation. I absolutely am becoming a little richer from this conversation from you. We also have a couple of questions right now from the audience. I just quickly ask you.
Right.
Okay, so first question is, did you pick travel as an industry to explore in, or did just it fall back into place?
Travel was an industry I had absolutely no intention of joining.
Okay.
Outlook Traveler was an internship choice I had put during my first industry internship as my fifth choice because the other places had just not responded.
Okay.
So when I went there, I was like, I'll figure it out because you just needed like writing and cultural general knowledge a bit to get the internship there, I guess. And when I went in, I saw that I turned out to be good at it. I liked it. I liked the spontaneity, the creativity, the elegance of writing in travel. And so I stuck to it. And after that, I went to Execo later because I found the company to be good. So it was purely a coincidence that it was in travel. It definitely helped me because I already had travel experience, industry knowledge. But it's not like I have travel in mind as an industry to explore and stay in.
Okay. So, I mean, after that, post that, the stars kept aligning for you, and then you went from one step to another, I feel.
Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah, all right. So, next question is that how do you get over creative block when working from home? I mean, I'm pretty sure all creative professionals might encounter some kind of creative. So how did you overcome that?
I personally take very long breaks when I have a creative block. I might go off work for 2 to 3 hours and do something else, like maybe watch a video or make something else or read something, and then I come back to it. Or if it's not urgent, I push the work to the next day. And if I'm having a creative block, for example, the previous day I had to write some auto responses for Google Play Store, and I couldn't think of what to write that hasn't already been done to death. So I took a break. I watched a lot of K-pop. I cooked some pasta, then I came back to it. And I also looked up a lot of templates online. I mean, you can look up a lot of inspiration online on websites like Behance or even
Mhm.
on Flickr, on very good marketing blogs as well, or for anything. I mean, there's a website for everything. And
Right.
you can look up inspiration, but it's important not to plagiarize. So
Hmm.
look around a bit, see what other people have done, and then come back to the work, and you'll probably have a bit more ideas. I mean, a creative block is never permanent.
Okay.
So I think if you just take a break, have some fun, and come back to it, you'll overcome it.
Thank you for that insight, Nayanika. Next question we have. You mentioned programming has a lot of potential in marketing. So can you please elaborate on that a bit? This is the question.
Right. So I personally don't have that kind of programming knowledge yet that I can say get very technical into it. But programming as a skill is useful if you're a writer, because if you go into certain companies that are say building their mobile apps or are building some sort of online platform, and you can understand how that works, you might be able to contribute to UI, you might be able to contribute to technical discussions. A lot of tech focused companies also hire writers for their blogs and for corporate communications. And if you have knowledge of that beforehand, obviously it will make your content a lot better. And also programming, in if you work in a mobile app, then you can solve website issues occasionally, like chote chote wale. You can solve some user interface problems, and I think in general it has a lot of potential. Also, if you go from diverse writing to something more specialized, like suppose you're working in environmental journalism, and then you go into something like climate science later, where
Mhm.
you start writing more about science, and tab you might have to transition into, this is specifically if you work in a science focused company, not a media publication, but you might have to work on modeling, on analytics, and those kind of things do require programming knowledge a little bit. I can't pinpoint the exact things yet because I haven't explored it enough myself. It's just something
Right.
that's on my to-do list
Okay.
to build more knowledge of, say, Python or React Native, so softwares like that. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Nayonika. I mean, we definitely didn't know this part of the programming because we haven't been taught that in college yet. But then thank you for that insight. We have a lot of other questions, but then due to time constraints, we have to, draw the curtains over here. But thank you so much, Nayonika. I'm pretty sure all the attendees over here, they're going to emerge out richer after watching this live, after watching this particular webinar. And thank you so much, Nayonika. I think perhaps maybe outside this forum also, we might be able to connect with you on LinkedIn or somewhere. And we're
Sure.
looking forward to your tips and advices. So thank you for taking out time. And a big thank you to all the attendees too. Thank you for watching this particular webinar. I hope all of you liked it, and please stay safe, stay home, take care, take all precautions, and see you all in college soon. Thank you.
Thank you.